Thank you very much, Sonia. Muito obrigado. É um prazer essere qui. Gostaria de fazer uma intervenção em português, mas é melhor para você que falaria in English. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about my job, which is not so difficult for me to explain what we do, what UNIMED does, and what our organization is trying to do in several fields, but in some of those where I listened very interesting speech during these 2 days. Some of them in Portuguese were a little complicated to me, but I understood in a way the spirits that is in a way involving all of you researchers for a sustainable dimension of our tourism and also how to improve cultural collaboration among our countries. My intervention will be in a way a presentation of what UNIMED does and also the importance of working in network in the intercultural dialogue and academic cooperation in a very particular region of the world, which is the Mediterranean region, but is larger than this. I will explain now in a moment. This is what we wrote in our website to introduce UNIMED, which is exactly in line with the topic of your conference, Universities Network for Intercultural Dialogue and International Cooperation. UNIMED is a network of universities. We have currently 172 universities from 25 countries of the Euro-Mediterranean region and beyond, because we have also some members from sub-Saharan region of Africa, some members from Western Balkan, some from Middle East, Iraq and Yemen, but also from the Gulf with Saudi Arabia and Oman. We started in 1991. At the beginning was a small group of universities, and then little by little, thanks to our projects, to our activities, now we have close to 200 members in our network. This is the steering committee of UNIMED. I show this slide every time to explain that we are, first of all, an independent network. We are not financed by any government. We are financed, first of all, by our members. Every university pay an annual fee. And we don't have any relationship, official relation, let me say, or any link with any government from the European side, from the Arab side, or even with the European Commission. This means that the network is managed by members and in a very balanced way. The president at the moment has been elected last year during the assembly, the UNIMED assembly in Granada. The president at the moment is a Palestinian, for the first time a Palestinian, for the first time a female, Professor Karir Assas. Then we have two vice presidents, European, one from Sapienza University of Rome, the other one from the University of Barcelona, and the Secretary General, which is the former rector of Tunis. If you can see, these four roles are very balanced. Two Europeans, two Southern Mediterraneans. But also the composition of the other members of the board, the 16 members, are very well balanced. 8 are European and the other 8 are from Southern Mediterranean countries. This means that every decision should be shared, discussed among members. There is no one that have a sort of more important role than other members. And obviously we have our vision and our mission. Generally speaking, our role is to help our members to internationalize more and more their activity, to be in connection, north-south, or why not south-south, and to improve their collaboration on several topics. We have sub-networks that I will explain later in several thematics, but more importantly, the main idea is that we have problems in common in our region and only working jointly as universities, as academicians, we are able to provide solutions to our policymaker, to our societies. Obviously, we have several important topics in our dimension. Academic freedom, that seems very easy to mention, to underline, but in some of our countries, academic freedom is currently, again, under risk. Obviously, the issue and the topic of solidarity. Look what is happening at the moment in Palestine and Lebanon, but also in Syria, what we did in the past and still we are doing for refugees, and obviously the right and equity access to higher education, knowledge for all the students and researchers to have mutual understanding, and so on and so on. As you know, and some of you concretely do that with your work, the region is very particular for several reasons. We have a lack of political stability in most of our countries, unfortunately. I don't want to go in detail of each of them, but if you look the situation, the political situation of countries like Algeria, Tunisia, but also the risk of conflict in Libya, Syria, again, the current situation of the conflict against Israel and Hamas, the situation in Gaza, the Syria situation. I can continue. Unfortunately, I can continue for hours describing how the situation is very risky for them, first of all, and for us, for all of us. This means that, at least from our perspective, universities should do something more at political level, at educational level, but also to try to pass a positive message on the importance of collaboration among universities. Okay, I already mentioned what we do in terms of international, to promote the international scope of members. We help our members in fundraising activity. We submit project proposal. We promote mobility of students. Of course, we do a lot for mobility of students, research, and also the staff of the academics. And we help also our members in designing project proposal, because you know better than me as researchers that we compete continuously in looking for funding for our research, for our activities. And this is a sort of, we need a sort of professionalism to manage this opportunity that European Commission not only is providing to all the universities and researchers for supporting their own activity. We do several things for our members, but one of the most important elements for our activity is that we are in connection with important organizations around the world that are interested to the work of UNIMED, to the membership of UNIMED. This is the membership, the institutional partnerships that we have with some organizations that are, for some of you probably are unknown, but are very relevant in the international cooperation, or generally speaking, that are very interested to support us. For instance, FIO, which is obviously a United Nations agency, very important. We work with them with a very detailed work plan, but also we have cooperation with the European Training Foundation, which is an agency of the European Commission. We have strong cooperation with the Union for Mediterranean, but also a private foundation called the Fondazione di Sardegna that every year sponsor mobility program for Maghreb students, or the the Erasmus Student Network, which is, as you know, a student organization, and we organize with them a very important event, and I will show in a moment. And then we are also members of other platforms like Scholars Risk, the Resomance, which is a French network to support refugees and migrants in French universities, the International Association of Universities, and we cooperate also with UNHCR with this global task force on third country education pathways. This is just to mention that all these partnerships that we have with international institutions are related to the fact that we are very well connected with Southern Mediterranean universities and, generally speaking, with universities worldwide. And they find easily to work with us to reach our universities, our countries, and why not to launch common initiative. As a network, we have some priority areas. I go fast on this. We consider this thematic absolutely relevant. Some of them are in line with the work that we are doing. Intercultural dialogue, for instance, in Mediterranean society is mandatory to work on it. Sustainable development, of course. But again, refugees and migrants is part of our values, and we try to do our best for that. How to support digital education in higher education, which is something that was, for us at least, relevant before the COVID, but after COVID became more relevant. Employability, because this is another important priority for all, let me say, the Mediterranean countries, independent if they are from the north or from the south. There is unfortunately a huge rate of unemployability issues in all our countries. And that's it for our priority areas. But we work also on other thematics, if in case our members are interested to work on it. And for this reason, we, in addition to our main priorities, we launched also a second level of network, which we called sub-networks, which are in a way working group on specific thematics, where we invite researchers from our member universities to work together, to discuss, to debate, to launch new ideas, and to share information about their research, their work, and so on. These are the sub-networks that we launched. We are discussing around 400 people that are working on all these working groups. One of these working groups is coordinated by the University of Évora, sub-network of food and water, which is one of the bigger. And is a sort of, let me say, a huge research family that is now not only approaching that thematic, looking at their own research perspective, but looking at that thematic in the Mediterranean perspective. Again, the idea is to discuss among us and to see North and South researchers how we can work together jointly on such important priority. There are some that are very specific thematics: climate change, tourism, which has been mentioned today several times, food and water, safety and security of critical infrastructures, and some other that are related to transversal issues, mobility and intercultural dialogue, e-learning and open education, migration, which is thematic but also is very important for our region. But we have also a project dimension. In addition to the sub-networks, in addition to our priority areas, we have projects sponsored, most of them by the European Commission, not only, but most of them by the European Commission. And these are the domains where we are supported by the European Commission through Erasmus+, Horizon Europe, Interreg Med program. Now we are waiting the Interreg Next Med. Yesterday has been, by Sonia mentioned, all the programs that support Mediterranean cooperation. There are not a lot, it's not enough, unfortunately, but there are many in a way. And we try to work to support our members to be protagonists in such dimension. I will give you a very short example of projects that we are doing, just to give you an example on what we do to support our members and to improve Mediterranean cooperation. These are our project on university governance. The main idea to work on university governance probably could be far from your domain, far from your priorities, but as researchers, if we are not able to work in a friendly and also free environment, we can do nothing concretely. This is the reason why, in particular in some of our countries, we push through projects, the only instruments that we have, policymaker, to make the academic environment more able to manage the university, but also more free to manage the university environment. freedom, academic freedom, university governance capacity is fundamental to improve research dimension, to improve capacity of researchers, to improve capacity, obviously, at the end of our students. We are managing a project called Harmonia, which is quite a very contradictory name for a country like Libya, which is divided in two countries and four governments. Is a very crazy situation. But the university environment is working jointly, East and West. And we are very active in Libya with a lot of projects. Harmonia is a new one. And we work jointly with Benghazi and Tripoli, with Seba, which is in the south, and Tobruk, which is close to Benghazi on the eastern side, and with Zawiya on the western side. Just to mention that we are not touching, obviously, political issues, because it's not our role, but helping universities to work jointly in a very friendly, unique environment. And we are trying to implement the Bologna process in the Libyan education system. And the Minister of Education in Libya, the Minister of Tripoli, is with us. And this shows the commitment that they have to reform the system in Libya, which is a very complicated system, but at least they are starting to do something at international level. We also have a project called Good Morning, which is a project with Mauritania and Niger, again, to improve internationalization. You can imagine how it is complicated to manage a project now with Niger, which is in a very fragile situation at the moment. We are supporting another project called YELD to improve internationalization of Yemeni universities. Again, as you can imagine, to talk about internationalization for a country which is still in a conflict like Yemen seems absurd. But I think that it is important that international community very well know what is happening in a country like Yemen, where professors, for instance, at the moment are not fully paid by the state because the state is in the situation as it is. But they want to be connected with the international community to be supported in their own challenges. We are working it's a long tradition of cooperation with Tunisia, with the project Dirasa. We have several projects there. And in Tunisia, it's quite challenging that we have projects that involve all, all the Tunisian universities, I mean all the public Tunisian universities, which are 13. And thanks to UNIMED, now they have this tradition of cooperation among all the universities all together, because in the past they were not used to work all together jointly, which is obviously absurd. And we are working with another project called Uprise in the Kurdistan region of Iraq, which is trying to improve their autonomy more and more from Baghdad. Just again to mention that all these projects have a very solid project idea, but the main results are beneficiary of all the sector of the university, not only the university governance. Because if we are able, hopefully, to improve the quality of higher education, we are able to improve the quality of all the domains that are taught in that university. There are new projects recently approved. We still don't have any logo for that, which are this for one. Again, on university governance, just to give you the idea that as UNIMED, as network, we truly believe that the autonomy of universities is the key, is the entry door for any development to improve capacity of university in that country. BASE is a project with Palestine and Jordan. We will see, hopefully, if we will be able to succeed with this project. RISE is another project in Kurdistan region of Iraq. SELDAI is a project with Algerian universities. There are new small projects to improve internationalization, so promise for Western Balkan universities. I don't want to mention all the projects because it could be boring and there's a lot of information, but let me just to underline some project on refugees and migrants that could be probably of your interest, because SAFE is a new pilot project of European Commission. They decided to launch a pilot initiative with 60 scholarships for refugees and scholars at risk from all over the world, not only Mediterranean. And they selected a consortium coordinated by DAD, which is a German important institution, plus Campus France and Collège de France and UNIMED. The pilot edition, that started September, will finish in 3 years, will be the starting point of a permanent program of scholarships for scholars at risk and refugees. That could be a great success for the European values, let me say. We have the Marie Sklodowska-Curie action that you, I suppose, already very well known. And the idea is to have a sort of Marie Sklodowska-Curie action for scholars at risk and refugees. The pilot initiative will be the way to taste, to trial the methodology to implement that scholarship program. And the other one, ISGRA, is a project to implement my migration department in Libyan universities, but from the Libyan perspective. Every time that we talk about migration, looking at North Africa or African countries, we look at this with our European perspective. That is not correct, of course. We have to look at this problem with their own perspective, or at least to help them to look at that problem with their own perspective, not because they have to satisfy European indicators or European needs. Okay, I give you another small example on curricular development, not only to celebrate the University of Évora that coordinated that project, FOSAMED, but also, but more importantly, because it's an example of cooperation that you could implement through your university, if in case you are interested, with Mediterranean or African countries. The idea is that through Erasmus Plus capacity building projects, you could also submit a proposal to improve curricula in those countries that are weak on that issue and that topic. And with FOSAMED, we launched this food safety master in Moroccan universities, and now they are implementing. In the Moroccan universities, after the 3 years of project, are able to implement that master totally independently, or if in case with the support of some international partners. The idea to improve capacity of university to implement curricula, something that is also important, again, to harmonize our systems and to improve mobility of students and researchers through harmonization of our system. We have a lot of also scholarship for mobility, for Erasmus mobility program. You are familiar with the Erasmus program. There is also part of international funds dedicated to Erasmus opportunity for Southern Mediterranean students, and not only. We have a lot of scholarship every year sponsored for North Africa, Sub-Saharan region, Western Balkan, and Middle East. It is also important for the staff of the universities and not only for students. Let me go to our annual events. I gave you an idea about projects just to show you what the network can do. We help our members to write the proposal. In some case, we write the proposal. In some other case, we just support them to use the right language and eventually to orientate their work. But this is the results of the advocacy activity that we do with the European Commission, first of all. And we have two important annual events with our members. The UNIMED Assembly, of course, General Assembly, where we meet each year. And we invite, obviously, important external stakeholders. But also we have the UNIMED Week in Brussels, which is a nice bilateral meeting with the European Commission, where we listen to them, we listen what they have in mind, their priority for the future, well, how they are preparing the programs, goals, and so on. At the same time, they listen to us. They listen our ideas, our partners, our members, how we are working in implementing the programs of European Commission. And these two events, the Assembly and the UNIMED Week in Brussels, are very important also for networking among members. Because we can talk about intercultural dialogue, we can talk about the importance of our region, we can talk about the importance of our university, but the most important thing is to meet each other face to face. This is fundamental for vice rectors, for rectors, for people that work in international cooperation, to have some place where you are with colleagues that share the same values, the same problems, the same ideas. Is very, very important to meet very often, let me say, at least once a year, to reinforce our connection, to reinforce our links, and why not to share ideas, opportunities, and to have some food for reflection. The next UNIMED Week in Brussels will be in February. The next UNIMED Assembly will be in July in Italy next year. But we started also thinking that we have to work for the universities, but we have also to work for students. Not only rectors and vice rectors are fundamental, or director of international cooperation offices, but we need to work directly with students. And we launched 3 different initiatives that, let me say, probably are the most important one, because we have some fresh air working directly with students. The Mediterranean Student Summit, we already did 3 editions. The first one 3 years ago in Barcelona, the second one in Morocco, and the third one last September in Italy. It's a very simple idea, inviting students from both sides of Mediterranean to meet, to discuss, to debate, to deliver recommendations for universities, for students, why not, but also for policymakers, on how to do things better for improving international cooperation and improving students' participation. The main idea is to create, let me say, if I can use that verb, a Mediterranean generation. You know that through Erasmus we were able, as Europeans, to create this European citizenship. Okay? We are, very often we say Erasmus families, Erasmus babies. Always I add, probably some of you already listened that, I add Erasmus divorce, which is life. Okay? Through Erasmus we create this European dimension that is life. We would like to have the same with Mediterranean, with Southern Mediterranean and European Mediterranean countries, but European, generally speaking, not necessarily Mediterranean. The bourses available, the scholarship available are very weak, unfortunately, at 10,000 per year, more or less. It's not enough, but it's something. And we try to use the scholarship as better as possible. But again, we need that students meet each other, know each other, discuss each other, also solve the problems that they have in mind. In the last edition, there was a student from Barcelona University that arrived saying clearly, I'm not Spanish, I'm Catalan. Okay? And you say, come on, we are discussing about Mediterranean. But we accepted. At the end of the 3 days, she clearly said, I'm Mediterranean. Because if they meet, if they know, if they discuss, if they debate, probably there's something that is not solved. But at the end, they will understand that how is important to know each other, to remain with our differences, but to use that differences as a richness, not as a problem, as an obstacle. The other one is more focused on concrete issues. Start Cup competition is how to invite students to compete on entrepreneurial ideas. The last edition was the 6th one, and we had 34 students, group participating at the final stage from 34 universities. That was amazing. And we had a very hard competition in hard and light, let me say, because at the end we are not discussing something that they win something very special. And I'm very happy to mention that the students team that won the Start Cup competition was a student group from Misurato University from Libya, and was totally female students group. That for Libya, let me say, is a real scandal. I don't know if they are happy about that, but it was super successful when we were absolutely happy. The third one, which is the more complicated in a way in terms of organization and also in terms of cost, but is also the most fashion probably, is we have a UNIMED jury at the festival Cinema in Venice, which is a collateral prize. And we have a jury made by students of our universities, and it's a combination of efforts from universities that can send the students paying their tickets. We pay something for catering, for hosting, and so on. And we have some small sponsorship. And you can imagine for students that study communication or cinema to stay 10 days in Venice with other students in a very international environment with actors, directors, and so on. In that very crazy world, I've been 2 times only there, and they said, I don't want to be there anymore. But for them, it's a very fantastic experience. Having said that, we are working to create a sort of UNIMED alumni. Again, the idea is to have students that know students coming from other region of the world and thinking that they have something in common to share also, hopefully, in their own future life. We have some resources. First of all, I start with the UNIMED Learn resources, which is at some point we discovered that before COVID, but probably after COVID more intensely, we have a lot of e-learning tools thanks to our projects, and we decided to put everything in a common space. And we are very surprised that independently by the projects, some of that tools are still valid, don't finish after the project, remain valid, some contents, of not all, but some of them. And we have 4,000 people that are using that tools that are obviously totally free and already paid by projects and already delivered. It seems that there is space for students and staff of universities to use that tools. Some time by time we publish publication asked us by important organization. The Green Innovation Employability in the Math through the Triple Helix has been asked us by the Union for Mediterranean. The study on Syria by the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs, like the Lebanon study. But if you want to know more about internationalization of Southern Mediterranean universities, we published a report asked us by the Union for Mediterranean, which is the internationalization of higher education in the Mediterranean, which is, again, if you want to work with North Africa and Near East, is a sort of very important guide to have the right information, how to approach that countries, how to know their weak and strong point, and so on and so on. And in a way, there are very important recommendations, such as, for instance, the report that we wrote on Libya, which was very, very interesting because it was the first one to describe in a way how Libyan universities are organized. But coming back to intercultural dialogue, we do projects. Okay, it's very difficult sometimes, even for me, to explain that projects. I remember I was in a very important meeting in Marseille many years ago with thousands of people with the Interreg Med, the Interreg Euromed program. There was the sort of kickoff meeting of all the projects sponsored, and then a big group, we went to a restaurant, and the waiter asked us, oh, where are you from? Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, blah, 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 and so on. Oh, amazing. What are you doing here? It's a conference on Interreg Euromed programs for sustainability. Crazy. What does it mean exactly? Oh, we are doing projects to improve collaboration in a trans-regional dimension among local authorities, Chamber of Commerce, universities. Really? And exactly what you do? And come on, it's very difficult sometimes. When we move outside of our community, universities and so on, sometimes very difficult. And if it's difficult to explain, probably we have some problem. We have also to consider that. Probably we have to change our language. And the idea to promote a podcast on intercultural dialogue about the importance of intangible cultural heritage in the Mediterranean is exactly that. The idea to try to pass a message, a positive message on Mediterranean societies, talking about music. Because time by time we look at the southern Mediterranean, the Arab world, thinking that is a very sad world for several reasons. Religion first and many others. The impression that we have about the terrorism, political issues, instability, and so on. But if we look at some other aspects, you talked about cultural heritage, monuments around the Mediterranean, but also intangible cultural heritage, and music in particular, we understand the richness of that part of the world and how we are influenced. And this is the reason why we launched this podcast every month. A former professor that is now retired, Paolo Scarnecchia, on a voluntary basis, is doing interviews to artists, professor, on a particular, every month he select a different topic. And we have this storytelling around 45 minutes about that important tradition. And we are discussing not commercial issues. Commercial music is la niche de la niche de la niche. It's very, very particular. Obviously listening some music among the interview. And the last one was about Portugal. For those that are interested to listen, it's very, very interesting. But there are many from Balkans, from Syria, from Libya, and so on. This show, again, the importance of this tradition, and again, with the idea to pass a positive message about the importance of Mediterranean society. Let me now mention another important things that we are doing, which is not even in a slide, but is something that also give you, hopefully, the idea of what a network can do in a particular situation that we are facing at the moment, and what the universities are asked to do. I presented you some initiative that we are doing for refugees and researchers at risk. In the past, during the Syrian crisis, we did a lot for supporting Syrian refugees in higher education with several projects, very successful. But again, we remain in this project dimension. I think that, and we think that we have to do more and more and more on that. And recently arrived at Gaza. And at the beginning of the situation in Gaza, of the war in Gaza, we were discussing among us what we can do. You know that university has been destroyed in Gaza. All the universities have been destroyed in Gaza. Rectors have been killed, some of them already left the country. We don't know how many students, professors, researchers has been killed. And we were discussing what we can do to support our colleagues, our friends. We have 2 members from Gaza, several from West Bank, but also 2 or 3 from Gaza. We launched an idea, what at the beginning was a very symbolic, let me say symbolic idea, to to ask international community if they want to deliver online courses for Gaza students to allow them to continue to study in a way or another. At the same time, thanks to one university in Palestine, the Al-Najjar National University of Nablus, they consulted with the online platform Gaza students if they were interested to continue to study in a way or another. In Gaza, there are 90,000 students, more or less. It seems that 10 to 12,000 are already abroad because they left the country at the beginning when it was possible to leave the country in a way or another. Most of them are in Egypt and in Jordan. Uh, 45,000 students answered to our request if they are interested to continue to study. We launched this initiative as symbolic, and then we were obviously we collapsed with all these numbers. How to do something for them? We started with some pilot edition with courses delivered by An-Najjar universities, considering the students as visiting students, and the control, the supervision of the Minister of Education in Palestine, of course. The first phase was from February to May, 3,000 students enrolled in this way. When I say studying online, it's not exactly what we have in mind for studying online, because you have to consider that they are most of them living in very fragile condition, in camps, in tents, no laptops, no electricity 24 hours per day, of course. They probably work with some laptops and mobile. Again, the methodology should change also from our side, how to support students that have to download everything with a mobile and study with a mobile. On 3,000 students, let me say, only the 25% was able to conclude their path. But if you consider that from February to May there was the most important attack in Gaza, and they were obliged to leave, for instance, Rafah from one day to another, the south of Gaza, because there were some attack that they planned. The IDF was planning for that. This means that was extraordinary results, and show us that it's possible to do something. It's not perfect, but it's possible to do something. And the main idea for us is to give to our students some hope. Obviously, if they're able to conclude their courses and to succeed to have a degree, that could be fantastic. But at least to show them the international community is supporting them. We did other two phases. Number are decreasing, but now we are working with probably the support of some international donors, to establish a permanent platform of collaboration for supporting Gaza students that will start hopefully in a couple of months. Until now, we received more than 100 universities, letter of support of universities that want to join us. And the extraordinary thing is that we are receiving support from Chile to Japan. There are universities from all over the world that is ready to support us. Also students' organization. And many other institutions want to do something for Gaza universities and Gaza students. The nice news at the moment is that Gaza universities, it seems that they are starting again, in a way or another, with online activities, online tools, and so on, in a very fragile condition. But this will be very important for us, because instead to talk to 40,000 students one per one, we will talk to Gaza universities to try to better identify their needs and how we can cooperate with them. Said in this way, seems simple, but believe me, it's absolutely not simple what we are trying to do. But at least we saw the international community, international player, European Commission, Union for Mediterranean, and several governments want to do something. They don't know what they can do. And at the moment is prevailing, obviously, the humanitarian dimension, which is fundamental at the same time. But if we don't look at the needs of youth, which is a human rights, the idea to continue to study for us is a sort of human right. What we do is not enough to, in a way, to consolidate what should be the future of Gaza. Having said that, this is part of our staff, our senior project manager. We are not a small organization. We are in total 22 people working daily on that. We have also some small office around the region. One of these offices is here at the University of Vevra, but there are other one in Morocco and in Jordan. And this is part again of our juniors. We have very nice juniors that working with us in several fields, in particular on mobility, the communication team. You know how important it is to have a right communication team. And for us that we manage public funds, also the administration team is very fundamental. They are the real bosses because they manage everything, they control everything, they say yes or not independently by our volunteer, but they are very, very nice people as well. And of course, we have our channels. We have this obsession on social media, but it's normal. We have to manage that. But I can invite you to follow our podcast, which is quite interesting. And thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, I'm here with you.